Welcome to the North Hudson Public Works Utility Committee meeting of Tuesday, October 20 at 5:30 p.m. Item number 1, call to order. Roll call, please.
Chair Pike.
Here.
Trustee Head.
Here.
Trustee Matz.
I'm here.
All right. Item number 2, approve the minutes of the September 15, 2020 Public Works meeting. I need a motion.
Move to approve the minutes from the September 15, 2020 Public Works meeting.
I second.
All right. Any discussion? Any changes, comments? All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Item 3, comments from the floor. Not seeing anybody additional in here. Item 4, village utilities discussion only. There has been some minor discussions about that in the background. We're, as you know, we're working with Rupert Milky, and they are kind of helping us put this together. So that one will table again tonight. Item number 5, stormwater ERU discussion and possible recommendation. Patrick, you want to tell us basically where we're at, what we're waiting for?
Yeah, we're just, I need to get a hold of Patrick from Cedar Corp, I guess. We just haven't gotten together and discussed. There were some corrections that we wanted to make to that. So that's about where we're at.
Okay, and what we're hoping to get to once we get the numbers right.
I'm not following you.
Once we have the numbers correct, what are we going to do with them?
That's what people get charged, I assume, for the stormwater. So it would just make things correct.
Okay, so it's a matter of correcting the charges and then seeing.
Yeah.
I think for Phil and Lori, at least, I think we're also wondering if, because I don't think that number's changed in a long period of time.
Yep.
We're wondering if we're taking in enough to actually maintain our stormwater system. So once we get the numbers right, and Patrick's working on that with Patrick from Cedar Corp, we'll be bringing this one back to the table, okay?
Okay.
And Nathan and I had talked about that. He was kind of playing around with some numbers, so I got like an idea. You know, if we increase it small amounts, we don't want to overwhelm people, but it should still make a good difference as far as how many catch basins we can get done in a year and repairs and whatnot.
Yep. All right. Any other questions about that one? Lori, Phil? Okay. Item number 6, East Auto Dollar for East Bank Sanitary Lift Station discussion and possible recommendation. Patrick.
Okay. So I'm waiting to hear back. I did some more investigating on the auto dialers, and rather than purchasing 4 auto dialers, 1 for each station, we can get radio units to put on those, and then 1 auto dialer that those would all talk to, which in the long run would save us money because we wouldn't have that yearly data charge. We'd only have it for 1 unit instead of for 4. So I'm trying to get some numbers back on that to see what that's going to cost us. I'm waiting to hear back from one place yet. So that's where I'm at with that.
While we're on the East Bank lift station, where are we at on the panel? Is that done?
That's in the director's report.
Okay. All right. Item number 7. Any questions for him on the auto dialer?
No.
Oh,
Okay. All right. Item 7, fencing for public works garage discussion and possible recommendation. Patrick.
I'll keep that one on there. I've got a guy coming out tomorrow from Minnesota. I finally got a hold of somebody that wasn't busy, so he's going to give me a quote on that, and then I'll bring you both of them next meeting, and then we can decide on that.
So we're finally getting a second quote. All right.
Yep.
Any questions for him on that, Lori or Phil?
No.
Item number 8, purchase of HVAC upgrade for Village Hall discussion and possible recommendation. And we have in our packet, as you can see, the proposal from Dakin and then an issue statement. Patrick, I'm not sure everybody's up to speed on why we're doing what we're doing here, because we move pretty quickly behind the scenes. Phil and Lori, the reason for the speed on this was related to the, what's the fund called that we're,
Routes to recovery.
yeah, the Routes to Recovery Fund would cover this.
Mhm.
And so we're looking to clean the air a little bit more in the village hall. And so that's what this is about. Patrick, you want to add anything?
Just that it's, I mean, basically, I think it says it in your packet, but basically what it boils down to is it's ions that attach to particles, and it makes them bigger, so they're easier to filter out. It's, and I guess they're a hot item now with everything going on. There's a lot of buildings and schools and whatnot that are purchasing these units. So.
Okay.
And GPS stands for Global Plasma Solutions.
Okay. That's odd.
Mm-hmm.
I need a motion so we can discuss.
I'll move for the Daikin install 4 GPS units to the village HVAC system with price not to exceed $6,000. Money to be used from the village hall contract and maintenance accounts. This expense will be reimbursed from the Routes to Recovery grant.
I second.
All right. Any questions for Patrick on this one?
I know you guys had to move fast. What made you decide on this as a purchase to be made with the recovery grant?
I was told to investigate something that would help with the air quality in the village hall, because we know that it's kind of poor. And I reached out to this company and asked him for some ideas. He had 3 different options, and this, once he came over and looked at our system and looked at the building, he said that this would be the least expensive and probably the best bang for our buck.
I can add to that, Lori. I mean, in our budget meetings that we held last week,
Mm-hmm.
we were talking about, are we really taking advantage of this grant? And I don't know, I think it was me that actually said, why don't we just replace that entire HVAC system?
Right, and that was what I was hoping we would be able to do, is see if there were, but I get the air quality piece. If it's founded, that it helps with COVID, I don't know how ions work with.
Oh, this does. I
virus.
mean, yeah, that was what we were after too. If we didn't replace the whole HVAC, given the cost of that and how much money is available for the grant, the Road to Recovery grant, and other things that the village is doing as far as spending money on the Road to Recovery grant. So we, this would at least help us with a little bit of the mold issue that's down there, and it would also help with things like COVID.
Right, with protecting our documents in the village basement type of thing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Yep.
Any other questions, Phil?
Oh,
All right, the suspending issue. So Phil,
yes.
Lori,
Yes.
and I'll say yes as well. Passed unanimous, and we'll present that to the board at the next board meeting. All right. Item number 9, access road to the landfill site off Cratley Lane owned by the city of Hudson, discussion and possible recommendation. So if you haven't watched the last Hudson Public Works meeting, you might want to, Phil and Lori. That's where this is coming from. I was asked to watch that meeting, and in that meeting, if you scan maybe about halfway through up on YouTube or River Channel, you'll find a discussion about the dusty conditions up by the gun club. So Cratley, off of Cratley, there's a gun club road that takes you all the way back to the gun club.
Yep.
As they turn off of Cratley, they're really actually leaving the village. And then Hudson owns 0.2 miles from that turnoff to the gate of Hudson's gun club road. And then, so they were discussing whether or not we would want them to put 800 cars a week down Summers and punch a hole in a dead end street from Summers over to the gun club. And they were going to take it to the council, and asked the council to talk to the board. And so since I saw the thing, I started doing my own little looking at that. And I won't try and speak for the board about it, but I think Hudson came up with several good solutions in that meeting besides punching the hole from the village dead end road over to the gun club. And at first, you know, I was looking at that and I thought, well, this is on Hudson's property and it's on gun club a private owned road that goes back into the 36 range, 1936 or something, I can't remember. And then I talked to the husband of the lady that was on that show about his concerns about respiratory issues, etc. And that is one of our residents. The dust is coming into North Hudson from that road. So then I felt, you know, I gave them some advice on what they could do next, and they're going to start following those steps. And I don't think, Patrick, I don't think you'll need to leave this up here for now. It's probably going to go over to public safety for a public safety follow-up. And if we hear anything else about them wanting to lengthen our road over to the gun club road, then it would probably come back here. But for now, I think it's going to be a public safety issue, and we'll let that go. Any questions?
No.
Okay. Item number 10, capital improvements plan discussion only. So we've got, I think I requested this last time that we get a look at everything for our CIP, corporate improvement, capital improvement plan projects. So I don't know if you this hasn't changed much, right? Patrick, Kevin?
Not a tremendous amount. We did add
Lemon Street.
yeah, Lemon Street. There's some curb and gutter and sidewalk in front of the school.
Okay.
Patrick brought that to our attention, so I put a number to that. It's about $30,000 for the replacement of that.
Okay.
And then we added Fifth Street in here. That was some LRIP funds that you were awarded. That's basically just a pulverize and relay project. Other than that, some things juggle around in years, but
Yep.
the majority of them are all the projects that we've been working through. Just one thing on the Sixth Street part of it, it looks like about 1.3 million is going to be village's share, and that's amongst sewer, water, landscaping, and storm sewer. I know Melissa's working towards trying to get some funding in place for that project along with other ones coming up in the future. But as of now, it looks about 1.3 is going to be the village's share.
Okay, well, Patrick, I'd like you to, well, first of all, for the rest of you that don't know this, I've asked Patrick to investigate through Kevin the west sidewalk that we were going to do patchwork on, running up and down 35. You know, it's like a 2-footer right now, and they were just going to tear it up wherever laterals were, and then they were going to go back in and patch it. I've asked him to actually try and get a quote for us of putting a real sidewalk in there, the regular 4 or 5 foot or whatever it is. Is it 5 foot?
Yeah, 5 foot standard. Yep.
5 foot. And that has budget implications for the village, and that's why I'm asking him to do that. And it relates to our levy limit, etc. Levy limit is based on number of outstanding loans, or the amount of loans that we have versus houses that we're building. And although North Hudson's done really well budget-wise, again, the levy limit is part of the reason that I'm requesting that. At least we want to look at that number. So when she goes for the 1.3, it might be a bit more. And Kevin has informed me that they let out when do they let this out, the project?
January of next year.
Okay, January of next year.
Yep.
And then that's when they're taking in quotes, Kevin, is that what that means?
Yeah, so it's a state letting. It's always the second Tuesday of each month.
Okay. And then, so tell me how that works after that then. Is it another month and someone is picked, or is it 2 months, or?
Yeah, it's typically depending on how the numbers come in. Contracts will be within the month to get those in place. And then construction wise, they're gonna have to start out there early just because of how much work's involved. I think the earliest you would see somebody would be March, April. Actually
Okay.
start doing any construction. You gotta have a pre-con and all that stuff in place before anything would start.
So we're like praying for a early spring and a much later snowfall season next year.
Correct.
Okay. So while I'm thinking about that levy limit, Patrick, I wonder if maybe you and Kevin could ask them to consider, if Lori and Phil are okay with this, consider, how soon can we actually do that Lemon Street project, that 31.5 that you've got there? I mean, if she's taking out a loan, I wonder, would it be asking too much of us as a village to try and work through the 35 project and a Lemon Street project in the same year, since it's just curb and gutter? And Lori and Phil weigh in. What do you think?
Curb and gutter, it's fine. They can work through that.
I'm worried about Patrick too, though. I mean, his staff are.
He's fine. He's good.
You're good, Patrick. Kevin, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, once you truly know who's going to be doing the concrete work out on the 35, I mean, you might want to approach that particular contract with.
Quit reading my mind.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's probably going to be where you're going to get the best price if you're going to be working out the whole summer.
Okay, so Lori, any questions, thoughts?
No, I think that's a great idea about the contractor that's doing the 35. Thanks,
Okay.
Kevin.
So Kevin and Patrick, do we need to do anything to ask you to investigate that along with the full size sidewalk?
No.
Okay. And so Lori and Phil, if I understood it right, once Kevin knows who the contractor is and the project is, then he reaches out to that contractor and says, hey, the village would like to add these 2 items.
Yes.
And okay. And Kevin, is that accurate? Did I state that right?
Yeah. No.
Okay. All right.
Hey, Kevin, sorry.
Yes.
Is that the price that you put in there? Does that include the moving and probably replacing that hydrant?
It was just for the concrete work, so there would be something for the hydrant.
Okay, because I want to make sure and get that in there, because that hydrant's in the middle of the sidewalk and it needs to be replaced.
It's in the middle of the sidewalk?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, might as well look at that too. I get that number in there too. So looking at the rest of this stuff that we've got here and thinking about contractors, is there anything else, Patrick, or I guess I was kind of looking at that 5th Street. Should we do anything else in combination since we're taking out a big loan? That we might be able to use the same contractors that are working on 35. That's what I had in my head.
Yeah, I don't know that we want to. I don't know. Those guys are going to be busy. That's a big job. So.
Well, I assume they hire the number of people that they need to get any project done.
Yeah, but if we go to them and want to add things, I mean,
these are big contractors. I'm assuming they just add staff to this project.
Yeah,
I
mean, we can always ask.
There's no staff.
All right, whatever. Laborers, what do you want to call them?
I'm telling you, there's no extra workers available.
Oh.
In construction all the time, and everybody's short-staffed.
Okay. Okay, so you don't even think it's worth asking, Phil?
So it's worth asking, and they can tell us maybe they have the manpower to do it, but I'm just telling you that they might say, I don't think we can handle this.
All right, maybe I'm making an assumption, Kevin. At least at one point in time, it sounded to me like that this entire 35 project was going to have multiple contractors working on multiple pieces of the entire project. So that, in Hudson, there's this contractor that's working on, Dairy Queen to Vine Street, let's just say. And another contractor is already starting to tear up the road from Vine Street all the way down to the bridge. And then they've got a bunch of people working down on that bridge,
Yeah.
Then we got another contractor working on the bridge that's going to do the resurface. And I assumed that there might be an additional contractor starting from the bridge going to the end of our project. Are there multiple contractors doing this road work and the pipe and stuff?
some of these contractors might try to team up just
Okay.
because of, the number of crews that are going to be needed out here with the underground work. There are some, contractors that do have 8-9 pipe crews. I mean, A1 Excavating out of Bloomer, I know they're a pretty big company, and there's obviously going to be some of the bigger companies out of the Twin City area that's going to be looking at this. But yeah, there's going to be work throughout this whole project corridor. Contractors all over doing stuff just to try to keep, get this thing done by the end of the construction season next year.
So Phil, I had it in my head that these asphalt people aren't going to be being worked right away because the road's going to be being torn up. So maybe we get them in early on 5th Street, and then they just take off on, once the pipe's laid and they're starting to rebuild the road. That's what I had in my head.
Okay.
You think it's worth investigating at least?
Oh, for sure.
Okay. So Kevin, you're not sure?
Well, the only other one that I can think of is, it's not a huge project, and you have some of that STP money sitting out there, or not STP, but LRIP funds.
Yeah.
Is that St. Croix Street?
Yeah.
That's mainly just a pulverizing relay.
Right.
That was only less than 100,000.
Yeah. What's the LRIP funds that we have?
So that's the stuff that you got from the county. I
Yeah,
have to go.
I can't remember the numbers all, but it's no big deal. I would like to add this if we can. Once we're doing these loans that are going to last out there for X number of years and have an impact on our budget, if we can knock a few of them off, knock a few of these CIP projects off, because they've been frankly kind of sitting here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the LRIP, they have a sunset clause.
Yep.
St. Croix Street, that has to be built, closed out by 2023. So you got to be constructing in 2022. So
Okay, and I'm not forgetting that we're doing Wisconsin Street in 2022, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So Phil and Lori, if it didn't work out at this point in time, we could look at the contractor that's doing the road work for us in 2022 on Wisconsin Street to possibly pick off St. Croix as well.
Correct.
I'm just saying, I think we should put the big number out there in front of the board and say, do you want us to do that? I've give them 2 options, basically, how we do this. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so get the big number. And we'll remind them when we give them the big number that, we got the 2022 project coming up where we could revisit St. Croix Street then too.
Yep.
Okay. Did you have, let's see, you have a different sheet on here. What's this DT 1400 sheet? Is that part of this discussion?
No.
Okay, that's different. All right. So any other questions about in the PACER ratings? You changed those?
Correct.
Okay. Oh, well, St. Croix Street is definitely next up.
It's at a 4.
Oh, wait a minute. The higher, is it the 10 equals new? So the lower the number is, the worse it is?
Correct.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, so, okay. All right, thank you very much. If there's no other discussion, there's no action to be taken on that just yet. Beyond what we just asked Kevin and Patrick to investigate for us. So that moves us to item 11, which is chair update, and I don't have anything to add today, except again, I would like for Phil and Lori to watch that. Last, what was the 6th, I think, or let me look here. It was last week's Hudson Public Works meeting that I wanted you to take a peek at.
Okay.
All right, item 12, engineer report. Kevin.
Okay, so just one thing that's come up on the 35 project, north of Summer Street, where they're gonna add the twiddle lane.
Yes.
Because safety issues, that third lane in the center. There's an existing water main on the east side. Was part of the project, they're gonna be doing some ditching work in there. And in some areas, they're gonna be cutting 1 foot to 2 feet of the existing ground where the water main is. So we have to go in and actually do insulate over the top of that so it doesn't create any issues with freezing during the winter months. So we had to include that in as part of the 35 project. And since that's, a water main, that's going to be 100% locally funded. So that's an additional cost that the village is going to have to pick up. It's not a tremendous amount. Anticipating about 15 to 20,000 to do that work. So contractor will actually excavate down 1 foot or 2, probably about 1 foot above the existing pipe, and then put 4x8 sheets of insulation over the top.
What kind of insulation?
High density, rigid foam.
Foam. Okay.
Yeah, 4 inches.
How many feet?
So there'll be 4x8 sheets, and there'll be 4 inches thick.
No, but I mean, how many feet of the road do we have to do this insulating on?
I think it was 400 or 500 feet.
Okay, and that's past. Where is that?
Past Summer Street on the east side of the highway.
All the way to
North End Road. Not the
North End.
whole entire length, it's just certain portions where they're redoing some ditching work in there that's cutting anything that was going to be more than a foot.
Okay.
So,
Okay, cool. Any questions for Kevin on that subject, Phil or Lori?
Is it
Nope.
so they're taking off some soil? I mean, because we don't have that condition right now, correct?
correct. They're just redoing they're widening the road out and they're reconstructing some of the ditch work. It's
So
draining.
won't below the cross line anymore.
Yeah, so typically you want to have 7 feet of cover over the top of the pipe. Well, in some areas we'd be 5 feet or less. So instead of like relaying the pipe, we thought it was going to be more cost effective just to insulate over the top.
Okay.
So
Any other discussion? All right, you have any other items for us, Kevin?
that is it.
All right, that takes us to item number 13, our director's report. Patrick.
Okay. So I did put your spreadsheets up there so you could look at from the PACER ratings that I filled out and submitted. There's also a maintenance treatment report there, just so you guys see. That's kind of what I have to look at every other year. That's where we get our PACER ratings. I go drive all the streets and look at them, and there's a booklet, gives us pictures and whatnot, kind of guides us through the whole process or whatever. So, and then the maintenance treatment report is just whatever we seal coat and the spray patching, that all goes into the database with the state.
All right, so so you've been working off this the whole time, this sheet, or is this new?
Yeah, since I've been here, we do it every other year, and then there must have been some kind of mistake this year because I did this last year, and they sent it to me again. And when I called down there, they said, "Oh no, they don't need to be in this year." But I had already gone through all the work, so I'm going to submit it whether they want it or not.
Okay, and where do you submit this?
To the state of Wisconsin.
Okay. Any questions for Patrick on this one?
No. Looks like a lot of work, Patrick.
Oh, it's not too bad.
So it's kind of like updating each time.
Yeah.
You've got the sheet and you know where everything is, and you just go and update.
Yep.
Who do you update with? Does Kevin go along for a ride?
Well, he did the first time, and then I kind of do it, and then I usually take one of the guys out, and I like to do a lot of walking because you can't just driving. You don't really see what's wrong with the road. So that's how I do it. And I've been taking Joe, and I'll take Blake out at some point, and we'll just kind of go through things, and so they see how I interpret what the roads should be ratings.
So all of this stuff is all three of these tabs is what our documents is what you submit.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. I did not know. That's good to know. All right. Any other questions for for Patrick on the Pacer ratings?
No.
Anything else, Patrick, from the directors?
I'm being told late for East Bank, so
Okay.
we're hopefully real soon here. That'll be coming. The cleanup, curb and gutter cleanup on Monroe and 7th, I believe they're done today. They were cleaning in the snowstorm, so I think they've got it all power washed off.
Now that relates to the seal coating. And if you haven't been by the village hall lately, you can see what they did to fix that street. It looks like it's going to last forever.
Yeah, they put a nice fog seal over the top. I like that. I like the way it looks.
Yeah, it looks great. It does.
Yep.
Anything else?
And I was just going to say that because I think I had told you guys before, next week we'll be doing it's web-based, but it's through Rural Water. All three of us will be going through the water certification. I have mine, but I never officially went through that, so I want to go through there because I'm sure there's plenty I can learn out of that. So then once we get done with that, then all three of us will be certified water operators.
Great. Good to hear.
So, and that's all I got.
All right. Any questions for Patrick? All right. That takes us to number 14, discussion public works capital and equipment planning, which we kind of did in the CIP sheet, but anything else you guys want to add as far as capital or equipment or Patrick? They haven't seen the budget yet, have they?
I have not.
So that we just we finished that up pretty much. There's still some little bit of stuff that Melissa's working on, so you'll see that for sure at the next board meeting, I would think, and you'll see that Patrick put some capital in there, that sheet with his priorities and stuff like you did before.
Yep.
Okay. All right, that takes us to item 15, unless somebody has something for capital. Okay, item 15, discussion future goals and agenda. Anybody got future goals or agenda items that you wish to add?
We seem to have a lot on our plate with 35 project coming up.
Yes. Yes, and that it's interesting because we have elections next year. For us, for the village. I think Phil and I were on this last one, so we're good. So Laura, you must be up next, huh?
Yep, it's Kirk and I.
Kirk, you and the president, right?
Oh, Stan as well. Okay.
Stan as well, yes.
And Kathy.
And Kathy, that's right, yeah.
Let's make sure and get them all back in there so that they get to enjoy going
The
through
30
this project.
going through the 35 project. No quitting on us now, Lori.
I don't know, COVID and school are making this kind of tough.
I bet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, if there's no other future goals and agenda items, we are on number 16, which is adjournment, and we are adjourned at 6:05 p.m. Have a good evening. Stay
Thank
safe out
you.
there.
Thanks, guys.
Good night.
All right. Have a good night.